History tells us slavery ended long ago, sealed in textbooks, frozen in time. But what if the final chapter was never truly written? What if the story is still unfolding, just out of sight? In the quiet corners of modern cities, under flickering lights and long shadows, there are stories no one tells. Stories of people working, surviving, but not truly free. Factories, farms, warehouses, the engines of everyday life. But behind the movement, behind the noise, are there people who can't walk away? Chains today don't always clink. Sometimes, they hum. They move with machines, hidden in systems we rarely question. From above, everything looks normal. A city alive with purpose. But beneath the surface, something far more complicated exists. Modern slavery isn't always visible. It doesn't need chains to exist. It lives in control, subtle, powerful, and often unseen. It's the loss of choice. The inability to say no. When work becomes something you cannot leave, freedom quietly disappears. You may not see physical chains, but control can still bind. Fear, manipulation, and dependency can hold just as tightly. In silence and isolation, control grows stronger. Modern slavery often thrives where voices are hardest to hear. Sometimes, it begins with a signature. A promise. But what follows isn't opportunity. It's control disguised as obligation. In a crowded world, it's easy to overlook what we don't expect to see. The person beside you, the worker you pass every day, might be carrying a story hidden beneath the surface. In busy kitchens and fast-moving environments, everything happens quickly. Orders, pressure, deadlines. But behind the scenes, some workers may be operating under conditions we never question. Products move seamlessly from one place to another. Efficient, organized, constant. But the human effort behind that system is often invisible to those who benefit from it. It's not always far away. Not always in places we imagine. Sometimes, it exists within ordinary neighborhoods, hidden behind doors that appear completely normal. What we see is often only part of the picture. Reflections, glimpses, fragments of reality. The full story can remain just out of reach. They came searching for something better. Opportunity, stability, a new beginning. But somewhere along that journey, things changed. And the path they chose became one they couldn't leave. Exhaustion settles in slowly. Day after day, the weight builds. Not just physical, but emotional. The feeling of being stuck, with no clear way out. A single moment can change everything. A call, a message, a decision. But when fear is present, even the smallest step can feel impossible. A life reduced to survival. Limited choices. Limited control. Each day blending into the next, without a sense of freedom. Watching from a distance. Close enough to see the world, but unable to fully participate in it. Existing, but not truly living freely. The work begins early and ends late. Long hours under the open sky. Effort that sustains industries, but doesn't always translate into fair conditions. Repetition becomes routine. The same motions, again and again. Hours stretching beyond limits, with little control over when it ends. These hands carry the marks of effort and endurance. A visible reminder of the work done, and the strain it leaves behind. When most of the world rests, others continue working. Quietly, consistently, often without recognition. Time moves forward relentlessly. But for some, progress feels out of reach. The cycle continues, unchanged. It often begins with a journey, a new city, a new opportunity, a chance to start over. Everything feels possible at first. But for some, that promise slowly begins to change. What was meant to be a fresh start becomes uncertain, and the path they chose no longer feels like their own. A simple message can feel like hope. A job offer, a way forward, a chance to improve life. But not every opportunity is what it seems. Sometimes, behind the promise, lies a situation that's harder to understand until it's already begun. Step by step, things begin to shift. The environment feels different. The control begins to change. And before long, what once felt like a choice starts to feel like something else entirely. From the outside, everything appears ordinary. Just another place, part of everyday life. But behind closed doors, there can be realities that remain hidden, unnoticed by the world passing by. Even when there's a moment to look back, the road behind doesn't always feel safe. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt make every decision harder. And sometimes, knowing something is wrong is only the beginning. What begins as a small obligation can quickly grow into something overwhelming. A fee here, a charge there, numbers that seem manageable at first. But over time, they multiply, stack, and tighten their grip. The weight of debt becomes more than financial, it becomes psychological. It creates pressure, fear, and a constant reminder that freedom feels just out of reach. And for some, that pressure becomes the very thing that keeps them from leaving. Every small payment feels like progress. Every coin, every note, a step towards something better. But when the balance never seems to shrink, frustration begins to replace hope. The effort continues, day after day, but the outcome remains the same. It's a cycle. Work, repay, repeat, where the finish line never seems to get closer. Not all chains are made of metal. Some are written in ink, contracts, agreements, obligations that bind in quieter ways. They don't rattle or shine, but they hold just as firmly. And because they look ordinary, they're often overlooked, even by those caught within them. Sometimes, the barrier isn't physical. The door may be right there, unlocked, within reach. But fear, uncertainty, and consequences can feel like invisible locks. The question isn't just, can they leave? But, what happens if they do? Power doesn't always need to raise its voice. Sometimes, its presence alone is enough. A shadow that lingers. A reminder of control. And in that space, silence grows, keeping people in place. Even when they long to move. Systems are built to protect, to regulate, to ensure fairness. But no system is perfect. Complex realities, evolving methods, and hidden practices can slip through the cracks. And when they do, the consequences are often felt by those with the least power to respond. Layers of process can slow everything down. Forms, approvals, procedures, all necessary, yet sometimes overwhelming. In that complexity, urgent issues can take time to surface, and even longer to resolve. The laws exist. Words written clearly, intentions defined. But enforcement is where theory meets reality. And in that space, challenges emerge, making it harder to turn protection into action. Decisions are made every day, discussions, policies, strategies. But the distance between those decisions and the lives they affect can be vast. And sometimes, what's unseen remains unaddressed. The modern world is deeply connected. Products, services, labor, moving across borders, industries, and systems. But with that complexity comes difficulty. Tracing responsibility becomes harder, and accountability can fade. Awareness begins with a simple step, asking questions. Looking deeper. Understanding the systems we interact with every day. Because the more we know, the more clearly we can see. Change doesn't happen in isolation. It grows through conversation, through shared understanding, through people willing to listen and learn from one another. And when awareness spreads, impact follows. Every decision carries weight. The brands we support, the products we choose, they all contribute to a larger system. And choosing transparency can help encourage better practices across that system. Speaking up may feel small, but it can make a significant difference. Reporting concerns, raising awareness, taking action, these steps can help bring hidden realities into the light. Change isn't immediate. It doesn't happen all at once. But step by step, action by action, awareness transforms into progress. And progress leads to possibility.